So, Joe, AI is everywhere right now, but not every AI initiative creates value. Where are companies most at risk of chasing the hype instead of solving real business problems?
Yeah. I think one of the biggest risks right now is jumping straight to the technology before getting clear on the problem. That ties back to something we talked about before. AI success has very little to do with the tool itself. It has a lot more to do with how the organization puts it to work. What we're seeing is use cases being selected because they're popular, pilots launched to demonstrate progress, and multiple experiments happening without a clear connection to business priorities. So instead of solving meaningful constraints, teams end up testing concepts. AI agents are a good example. There's a lot of excitement around them, and sometimes the assumption is they'll be fully autonomous and run complex end-to-end workflows. But in practice, agents can handle specific task level flows well, but once you add coordination across ERPs or CRMs, exception handling, approvals, and edge cases, it gets harder fast. So if you haven't defined the business objective first, those complexities don't show up until you're already trying to implement the solution.
And I think that's such an interesting point that you make because we know many companies are now advertising AI capabilities and it's sort of everywhere. So what should enterprise leaders look for beyond just the claim that a partner does AI?
Yeah, that's a great point. Like at this point, almost every company says they have AI capability. You see AI in front of every product description on the market these days. There's AI-enabled CRM. There's AI-native curation solutions. There's literally AI-first bird feeders. That's a real thing. Everyone can look that up. But the real question isn't the model. It's whether AI helps deliver the outcome in a better way. The partners that stand out are the ones who start with a business problem, and they determine how AI adds value to the service or solution they're providing. Does it create speed? Does it improve analysis? Or let your people focus on higher value activities? Does it connect to AI workflows, to your operating models? And then ultimately, taking accountability for measurable results, not just prototypes. This builds on the shift we talked about earlier, from curiosity to accountability.
And what do you think separates a meaningful AI use case from that trend-driven experiment?
Yeah. For me, it really comes down to three things. First, clear economic value, whether it's a value in how you operate internally or value you bring to your customers. Second is data readiness. I know we talked about that previously. It's critically important. And then third is actionability. That one really matters because even if the model works, if the output doesn't change a decision or workflow, it's not creating value. This connects directly to the readiness conversation. AI only really works when it's embedded into how work actually gets done. A really simple example is using AI to summarize customer service tickets. The summary by itself may help, but the value shows up when it identifies the issue type, routes the tickets to the right team, suggests the next best action, and helps reduce repeat contacts. That's when AI stops just reporting information and starts improving the workflow.
And, you mentioned the AI readiness, right? And I know at BCforward, we have an AI readiness assessment that we've recently launched. But I think, a large part of that has to do with what we're seeing and how leaders are approaching us. And so when we're having these conversations or you're having these conversations with leaders, how are you advising them on how they should pressure test an AI idea before investing budget, time, and even internal resources to it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've talked about data readiness already, so kind of moving outside of that, I'd say before putting serious time and money behind an AI idea, leaders should ask a few practical questions. One, what business metric will this improve? What process will it change? Who owns the outcome? And how do we measure success? These are some of the questions we've talked about before because readiness shows up in how clearly you can answer those questions. For example, if the idea is to use AI to speed up proposal development, the test shouldn't be, can AI write content? The better test is, can we cut first draft time down, pull approved case studies and boilerplate faster, make responses more consistent, and give the pursuit team more time to focus on strategy, pricing, and win themes, and ultimately winning more business. If you can't, you're not scaling the AI. It's still really experimenting at this point.
And I think what we have encountered just in our line of business and over the years is that so many of these initiatives, they start with a lot of hype. They get really, the buy-in is there in early days. But it is the actual implementation and then seeing through the project itself, that tends to be the more challenging piece of it all. And so what are some of the early warning signs that an AI initiative may actually end up becoming a wasted investment?
Yeah, absolutely. I'd say AI initiatives do tend to show warning signs early if it might be down the wrong path. I think the most common ones are easy to spot. It's, definitely there's no clear definition of success. I mean, if there's a heavy focus on model performance instead of the business outcomes, and then definitely data issues or slowing progress. And ultimately, there's no clear path, to actually integrate this into an operational workflow. This ties back to a key point in our last discussion. AI amplifies your environment. If your data and process aren't ready, AI won't fix that. It'll just scale the problem. A practical warning sign is when teams spend weeks tuning a model, but no one can explain who will use the output, what decision will it influence, or what process does it change. For example, a forecasted model may be accurate, but if sales leaders don't trust it, the finance team doesn't use it for planning, and the account teams keep working on spreadsheets, that model hasn't changed the business.
Mm-hmm. And as we're thinking through some of these things that leaders should know and uncover before they implement an AI initiative, one thing I'm curious to learn about from your perspective is what leaders should actually measure to know whether or not AI is creating business value for them. What are some of those things that they can measure to determine that?
Yeah, I think to know if AI is working, you have to measure business impact. It's not really just the technical performance. That means focusing on productivity improvements, cost reduction, cycle time, revenue lift, and adoption. The model accuracy matters, but only if it helps improve the outcome. An example of that is an AI tool may generate accurate recommendations, but leaders should still ask whether it helps close tickets faster. It shortens onboarding time, improves forecast quality, reduces manual rework, or increase adoption across the team. The real question isn't just did the model work, it's did performance improve because people actually used it.
And finally, I'm just curious, what will actually separate companies that generate real ROI from AI from those that only experiment with it in your purview?
Yeah, I think over time the contrast will be really obvious. The organizations that generate real ROI will treat AI as a business capability. It's not just an experiment. And then really investing in that data and governance early. Definitely focusing on just a few high impact use cases. Spreading efforts thin is just never a recipe for success. And then embedding the AI into your operating model, not just making it another tool that's available for your people to use. The ones that struggle will continue to run pilots without really scaling them. This really enforces the core message from the last discussion. AI isn't just a technology initiative anymore. A leader might start with one or two high value areas like speeding up intake, improving knowledge retrieval, or reducing manual quality checks. Then build a governance, data, adoption, and ownership model around those use cases. Once the organization proves value in one controlled area, it has a playbook it can repeat more broadly. It's a fundamental shift in how work gets done.